Hello and welcome to our Minds and Money 5 at 5 show. My name's Andrew Thate from Minds and Money. This week, the show is hosted by IBK Capital and is brought to you in association with Resource Global Network. For those attending 5 at 5 for the first time, the aim of 5 guests is 5 guests, 3 miners, 2 investors, is to maintain engagement between investors and miners through a lively, interactive format whilst we wait the return of physical events. Throughout the show, you're welcome to go and ask questions in the chat function at the bottom of the screen. We can also unmute you, so you can also ask your questions live as well. We have a great lineup of guests this week. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to our host for this week's show, who has said is our sponsor. It's Michael White, President and CEO of IBK Capital. A warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to Minds and Money for giving me the opportunity to host this panel. I think it's going to be a great afternoon. We've got some wonderful guests here on the panel today. From the issuer side or the exploration company front, we have 3 companies. We've got all the CEOs here as well, so you're talking the top dogs of each one of these companies. But we've got Van Gold, James Anderson. Wave your hand there, James. Say hi. And we've got Bob Archer of Newrange. Say hi, Bob, CEO of Newrange. And of course, up here in Toronto, in Vancouver, we've got Rana of Blue Lagoon, Rana Vig. Say hi. And the forum today we'll hear from all 3 of these companies. They've all got very good projects. Myself personally, IBK Capital, from an investment banking perspective, have done business with them. I personally own the stock. Clients of ours own stock through issues that they did through 2020. And so we're excited to have them here together to talk about their projects. We certainly believe that there's potential on each one of these companies to create some significant value through their exploration programs. We're going to hear a little bit more about the exploration programs and about sort of investments, generally speaking, from our other panelists that we have here today. We have fund manager, Steve Palmer from AlphaNorth Asset Management. Say hi, Steve. And we also have David LeClaire from Oberon Capital. Say hi, David. And they both. Good afternoon. Sorry? Oh, sorry. Okay. Anyway, they both participate in this sector, and we'll hear more from them and what they do. But certainly they've participated in gold and silver, precious metal companies, and have a lot of wealth and knowledge in terms of flow of funds in and out of the sectors. And we should hear quite a bit from them today too. I'm from IBK Capital. We're an investment bank, boutique investment bank here in Toronto, Canada. We've been around for 32 years now. I'm the president and CEO, and what we mainly do, our core function, is to fund junior exploration and development companies in the mines and metal space. We do some technology and some alternative energy. But most of what we've done over the years is concentrate our expertise on mines and metals, and exploration right through to development, production, even post-production if you're looking to expand or something like that in terms of the companies we deal with. So without further ado, I think we're going to turn it over to Bob Archer first. The forum will be, each company will be given some time to talk a little bit about their companies and their projects. Then there'll be time for the audience and for other panel members like Steve and Dave to ask a few questions, and then we'll move on to the next company and then the third company, and then we'll just open it up. We're going to have sort of a general conversation about all sorts of great things. Of news this week is Reddit and Wall Street Bets, and the move into certain stocks that have been shorted. That does have impact potentially on what we're talking about here today. There's rumors that they're going to push into the silver market. There's evidence that may have already started. Who knows? Maybe it's the herd, maybe it's other Wall Street or Bay Street people. And we'll talk a little bit about that, and that leads us to a discussion about who are the next investors in these companies, right? Will the millennials invest in this? I hope we have some millennials today in the audience. I'd like to hear from you, but it's just interesting to have a conversation about, who's the next investor in companies, who will invest alongside with those that have been in this industry and in this sector for a long time. Will they actively participate from company to company, or is it more generalist index ETF type investment? So we got way more to talk about for the next hour. It's going to fly by. Bob, over to you. Let's hear about Newrange. Thanks.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Mike, and thanks for inviting me to be part of this panel and to Minds and Money for hosting the event. So Newrange Gold is a gold exploration company. We're focused in North America. Our flagship project is in Nevada. We have a second project up in the Red Lake district of Northern Ontario as well. So the Pinguico project is in west central Nevada, in the Walker Lane Trend, surrounded by many prolific districts and mines. And the Pinguico project itself, or the Pinguico district, goes back to the first discovery of gold in 1884. And it at that time was known as one of the highest grade gold districts in Nevada. And the interesting thing about it is that it has been privately owned since 1896. And consequently, despite being in production, it's never really seen much in the way of modern exploration. And so that's given us a real opportunity to come in and to try to determine not just how much gold is left, but really what's driving this whole system, this whole district, and is there more there than just what the old timers might have left behind. So the initial focus was really on the past producing mines and so on, just to try and get a better understanding of what actually is there, what is the geological environment, how large are these zones. And we started out drilling off a zone that was very, very high grade, sometimes several hundred grams per ton in individual samples. And then moved on from there to explore some of the other adjacent mines. And while the results from that drilling were not as high grade as the first round on what we call the merit zone, we've certainly learned a lot from that drilling and how it hosts, how the gold is hosted, and the geological environment that's there. And while we were doing all of that, we were conducting a geophysical survey across the rest of part of the property, and then drilling some of those anomalies as well. And that has led us to a complete reinterpretation of the geology, such that we now think that there's a large intrusive underlying the property that is potentially driving the gold mineralization, not just in the area that has been mined previously, but throughout the entire property, and linking together a number of other nearby past producing mines and gold enriched areas. So it's we're at a sort of a transition stage, if you like, at the moment, but in terms of our thinking at least. But we're expanding the IP survey and generating new targets, getting a better understanding of that new model, and the drilling is continuing. We're still using reverse circulation at this point, but we hope to transition into diamond drilling probably within, say, a month to 6 weeks, to test some of the deeper targets that we're seeing on the property. So we think it now has potential for it's a multi-million ounce type potential deposit, and it's very exciting. So we're really very excited about 2021 and what that might entail for Pinguico. Up in Red Lake, we've got a project there called the North Birch, which, due to the COVID restrictions last year, we didn't get our permits to work on it until late September, which is a little too late in the season for field work up in that region. So we're just getting going on it now to do a similar geophysical survey up there, and we'll follow that up with diamond drilling. But it's modeled after the Musselwhite gold mine, which is also in Northern Ontario. That's about an 8 million ounce gold deposit that I actually worked on back in the mid-90s with Placer Dome, and it's now operated by Newmont Gold Corp. And we think that the North Birch project has a very similar geological environment. We have an 8-kilometer strike length to test, and we're looking forward to getting going on that one and ultimately drilling that probably by spring or early summer as well. So it should be a very active year for Newrange. And at the moment, we have cash and marketable securities of about $2.5 million. So we're well funded to get through the next several months of active exploration. So thanks, Mike. Back to you.
Yeah, very good, very good. Andrew, do we? This is the point in which we open it up to questions. I'd like, of course, the panelists to have an opportunity. Steve or David, if you have any questions, feel free to ask Bob. And of course, if anyone from the audience has any questions, please feel free to forward. I guess you forward it to the show provider.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to post any questions, they can post in the chat box at the bottom. But whilst people are posting their questions there, I don't know, it's Mike, if you want to go to Steve Palmer or David LeClaire to see if they've got any questions.
Sure, Steve, do you want to?
Sure. Bob, is there any resource currently on any of the two properties?
No, there isn't, Steve. The North Birch target has never actually even been drilled. The main target horizon is recessive because it's altered and it's not really even exposed at surface. So it's at this point it's largely a geophysical target. But the target horizon extends right into the old Argosy mine, which is only 3 kilometers away. And we're about 15 kilometers away from First Mining's Springpole project. So, we know there's lots of gold in the area, but it is relatively early stage. And at Pamlico, despite the fact that it was in production previously, that dates back to late 1800s, early 1900s. And there hasn't been a sufficient amount of work done there to build a resource. And we could start to do that on one of the zones, on the high grade zone that we have at Merritt. But our feeling is at this point that we really need to find something more substantial, either more zones like that, or else something much larger before we get into the resource definition stage.
There's a question from Peter Bell saying, is the Merritt decline area on a patenting claim?
No, it's on BLM ground.
Okay.
So it's federal lands, basically.
Unless David has a question, I have questions. But David, if you want to.
Yeah, if you just unmute David.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, good. Thanks. Bob, I was just interested in sort of the cross section of, and this is a bit of a self-serving question, but the cross section of investors between retail and institutional, and especially onshore and offshore.
Okay. Well, the breakdown that we know of from people that have declared themselves essentially is that we're about 10% institutionally owned. The breakdown there would be, well, it's spread between Australia, Europe, primarily Paris, Switzerland, and London, and Toronto. And so the exact breakdown on that 10%, I'm not sure, but and then insiders would own about 9%. The balance being retail, including high net worth folks. There's, I guess you could say, in friendly hands, about at least 30%. So all told, about 50% of the company is held quite tightly.
And are the retail investors of the individual and the high net worth investors, are they predominantly onshore Canada or offshore? You have a
They're predominantly, onshore Canada and the US, mainly Canada.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And Bob, I'm not sure if they were retail, like family wealth type retail or institutions, but you had some Aussie investors too, right?
That's correct. Yeah, they're in the institutional side. So they came in as a sort of a strategic investor, and one of our directors, Colin Jones, is an advisor to one of those funds as well. But they came in on the last placement that we did.
Okay, and I know your stock. There was a lot of anticipation for, I guess, news to come out with higher grade. You've explained today quite nicely that it's not necessarily like you have high grade on the project. The old timers mined high grade, but it's this lower grade, much larger envelope, which could, really add significant value in ounces at the end of the day. Your stock sold off a little bit, unfortunately, because I guess there was this anticipation for higher grade. But that said, it comes up to, into question, are you going to need to finance, right? Are you running out of cash? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, because I know that you've had some deals, some money coming in, and you've actually managed to take in a lot of money in a non-dilutive way, and maybe it'll help people understand, how you're funding this program going forward.
Yeah, sure. Well, a few questions in there, but going back to the trading, last summer, we started drilling around, I guess it was June, July timeframe, and it was right around then too. You'll recall that the gold price and silver had really started to take off. Really positive sentiment in the market, a lot of speculators jumping in, and it was really a hot market, a lot of hot money, people just looking to make a few bucks, quick trade, that sort of thing. And essentially, just getting into the drilling, speculators pushed the share price up from high teens up to 43 cents, just based on pure speculation of more of those high grade drill results, looking to make a fast buck. And as you say, the first pass on the drilling, which was in a not completely different area, but not in the same area as we had drilled previously. So, we didn't necessarily expect the same tenor of results, but when the results did come out, as you say, it wasn't what the market was looking for at the time. So, we sold off heavily, and ended up back basically where we started. And but so what's happened in the interim is, exploration is a very dynamic process, and it's an iterative process. And the more data you have, you just keep feeding that back into the exploration model, and it keeps changing and evolving. And that's what we're seeing happening now. And to the point where we think that we're actually onto something much larger now, but it needs a different approach. We're covering the rest of the property with induced polarization geophysics, and that should give us a much better picture of how everything ties together. And in terms of funding, last year we started to monetize our Colombian assets. The company had been focused in Colombia up until 2016. And so we've been selling those assets, monetizing all of that. So we did have a couple of payments come in last year. Plus we had warrants and options get exercised. So we used that to fund last year's program, on top of financing that we did with IBK in December of 2019 now. And then going into this year, we've completed the sale of those Colombian assets. We received $1 million payment just a few weeks ago, and the release from escrow of about 556,000 shares of gold mining, which at current prices is worth roughly $1.5 million. So that gives us that $2.5 million to work with over the short term.
Excellent. Are there any more questions? I think we're kind of running out of time in terms of Bob's.
Yeah. I think that what I would suggest is that there are a couple of questions in the chat box, but maybe we can leave Robert Archer to probably answer those questions in the chat box while we move on to the next speaker.
Perfect.
That'd be our recommendation. That was for you, Mike.
Perfect. Okay, so the next company that we're going to hear from, exploration company, is Blue Lagoon, with Rana Vig, CEO. But before we go there, I just want, Steve, if you don't mind, I want to hear just a little bit from you, because I want everyone to understand what AlphaNorth is, what you do, why you're here. Let's hear from you first, and then we'll go over to Rana. Okay?
Sure. So we manage the AlphaNorth Partners Fund, which is a long biased small cap hedge fund. It's a diversified fund. And last year, the fund returned 187%. We had winners across a variety of sectors, helium, uranium, gold, green tech, and biotech were big areas of strength. So I'm not the typical buy-side guy that normally sits in on these panels because I'm not a perma bull like many of the other guys. Definitely not. I'm generally negative on precious metals, but at the present time, I am positive. After the COVID hit at the beginning of last year, we were aggressively adding to the junior mining space, and particularly precious metals.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, just since I do so much in precious metals, it's good to hear that a generalist such as yourself, who really, you focus on the small cap stocks, right? But you're looking at all sectors, everything. Like you just want to know, okay, which company is undervalued and will add value. I want in. I want to buy it low, sell high. That's what you do. And so I think it's great to hear that you've turned your attention to precious metals and that you're not a perma bull. I mean, I thank you for coming on this panel, and we're going to have more time to talk about some other things in a little bit. But I just wanted everybody to understand, Steve, a little bit about AlphaNorth, and of course, very interesting fund to own. Did really, really well in 2020 and previous years, and so I guess people can contact you if they're interested in becoming a unit holder. But let's turn the attention over to Rana. He's the CEO of a company called Blue Lagoon. They have high grades in British Columbia, fantastic infrastructure, great location. We like it. We've invested in it. And Rana, over to you. Let's hear your story.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Well, we're going to turn Steve into a believer here, and I hope Blue Lagoon is going to help in that, because I know he's a holder. So we're going to try to help you, Steve, to push that fund to over 200% this year. So let's see how that goes. Blue Lagoon Resources. Look, we've got a dual play. We have a fully permitted mine in British Columbia. The only reason that it's not in production right now is because my predecessors just got too old. They're 83 years old. They ran out of time, and they're not in the best of health. So along I came as an entrepreneur and did a deal with them about 9 months ago, and zero cash, and an all stock deal, escrowed over 30 months. So we got a real bargain here. There's only 3 things that have to happen in order to get this mine into production. The budget is only $1.5 million, so it's not onerous. We have that. Have to finish the underground bolting, which was about $500,000. I've already completed that. We have to finish the water treatment facility, which was halfway done when I took over the project. The consultants will be on site in 10 days. Everything's been ordered, and it's my understanding that we'll have that finished by the end of February. And that ticks off 2 boxes. And the last piece was the reclamation plans. They're a little dated now, so the government wanted those updated, and ERM is halfway through to complete those. So at the latest, we'll have those finished by April. So we are in a very good position. We feel that by the end of summer and fall, we will be in a decision-making process for production. So that's kind of exciting. Now, it's not a big mine. It's we're permitted for 75,000 tons a year, so it's a couple hundred tons a day. But it's perfect for us because you know what. That's the smallest part of the story, because I'm not interested as much in trying to maximize the profit, which may surprise some of you, off of the mine. What I'm really interested in is using that capital, using the free cash flow, which will generate multi-millions a year. I'm interested in taking that and putting it into the big part of the story, which is the exploration. Believe it or not, over all these years, by the way, my predecessors spent 12 years and they spent $28 million all on development and infrastructure to develop and the permitting to get the mine to where the stage that it's at. But they never did any exploration. There's 19,000 hectares. All of the focus in the past themselves, including Timmins and Noranda, who were there in the 80s, was always on this little piece at the southern part of the property, which is less than 10% of the entire property. So it was never the focus was never on the other 15 high-grade veins. And if we can put the first slide up, I'll show you there's 15 already known high-grade veins on the property. And where the green arrow is, that's the main vein that we have right now, the Boulder vein. That's where we have a small starter resource of 200,000 ounces. Running 12 grams a ton, so a nice high grade. We have also 1 million ounces of silver. So we run currently a 1:4 gold to silver ratio. But the interesting thing is that we have a clear path to a million plus ounces. And how I can say that is that if you look to the left of that arrow, you see the dashed line, the dotted line. That's 800 meters there. That drilling was done in 2016, and it's all mineralized. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see the cross section, and you'll see that nope, not that one. There's sorry, that is the one. I apologize. On the left side of that, at the top left there, you'll see that's the 800-meter extension. That's all mineralized, and we know that the only reason that that's not in any kind of a category right now is because obviously it hasn't been drilled out. So we have a high degree of confidence that we just have to go drill that out. And that's the low-hanging fruit, and we can easily double the resource, from 200 to 400, 450,000. The next part of it is that this open at depth, and it was never drilled deep. This system, the Boulder vein, has only been drilled, 170, 180, 190 meters. So if you look at, again, to the right side of that same top left diagram where the resource is, you can see a handful of deeper holes that are there. And I know it's a little hard to see here, but it's on our deck on our website. You can take a closer look at it if you like. It's all high grade, anywhere from 15 to 20 plus grams a ton. And so we know that exists there. And then we also, if you look at if you move the slide up a little bit, you'll see the yellow highlight. No, the other way. There you go. If you see the yellow highlight, we just put the deepest hole in the property so far, 338 meters, and we hit 3.13 meters, running just about 18 grams gold and 70 grams silver. So again, it's confirming everything we already know, and we believe that by drilling deeper, we'll be able to double the resource again. So that'll get us up to somewhere around 700, 800,000, we believe. And then to the east, this was never drilled. Again, we've drilled that. We've hit. We started 2 weeks ago on a 20,000 meter drill program, and we haven't got the assays back yet. But I can tell you, the last few days we've been looking at the core. It's looking fantastic. It's all mineralized, and for the first time, we saw visible gold in the core, which we've never seen at the Boulder. So everything points to the extension on the east. We've got lots of opportunity at depth, and we've got, of course, the low-hanging fruit on the west, and that gives us the fundamental belief that we have a path, to 1 million plus ounces here. So we've got the certainty of getting the mine into production later this year. We've got a path to the 1 million ounces, and then we flew this property for the first time ever. This property has never been flown, so we did the first airborne survey on the property, and it was amazing. If you look at our news releases, you'll see the results. The whole thing just lit up. It was just amazing. Everybody was scratching their head. They were wondering, "Wow, how come no one's ever looked at this property before?" And if we zone in, I'll show you one slide. If you go to the next slide, this is one of the veins. This is one of the 15 veins that's on the property called Free Gold. For perspective, you can see towards the bottom there is the Boulder vein that we just talked about, and the Free Gold vein in the middle of this illustration. You can see the vein there, and look at the classic porphyry signature that surrounds it. So my technical team is very excited. This is one of 5 targets that we've identified. I mean, that's a game changer right there, right? That could be a company builder right there if we hit. So basically, in summary, what I love about this project and why we're excited about it and what makes us jump out of bed every morning is that we have a certainty of finishing these amendments in the next 3 or 4 months, getting the mine into production, using that cash flow to expand our belief that we have a pathway to 1 million ounces, and then of course go after these other targets on the property. We've got $6 million in treasury. currently just under $6 million currently in treasury. We have no debt, so I'm in good shape. I've got $5 million in warrants that are in the money, that at some point, that I believe that as the market bounces, that we'll be able to bring those in. So we're looking good. And lastly, to show, I'm all about execution. So to show the market that we're doing exactly what we're announcing in mid to late March, I expect to take the first ore out of the tunnel. We've got about 6,000 tons sitting in there. We've got permission now to take that out. We have a toll milling agreement with Nikola. We'll be shipping that off to them. By the way, all the metallurgy, everything's been done on this project, as Nikola in 2016 processed 6,600 tons and was able to recover 95% of the gold and almost 90% of the silver. So it's literally turnkey for me. I'm very fortunate to be able to walk in at the late stages here and execute on this plan. So we're going to take the 6,000 tons roughly that are in the tunnel. We're going to send it out to Nikola late March, early April, and get that processed. That's about 1,500 ounces of gold. So that again will give us a little bit of cash. But more importantly for me is it's going to show the market that we're delivering on everything that we are saying that we're going to deliver on. So there you have it. You can take the slide off if you like, and we can entertain some questions.
So Rana, I'm just going to chime in here because I got to ask. So what type of drill program are you pulling together, not just for Boulder, but for these new targets that you've identified? And talk a little bit about access and cost. You got to drill them. I mean, my gosh, you said, you jump out of bed every morning. So.
Yeah, so access is fantastic. I'm very fortunate. This is the property is less than an hour away from Smithers. All year round, we can drive to it very easily. It's beautiful because it really makes retaining people easy, right? They can drive to the property every day, work, and come back home and kiss their kids goodnight and go back at it again, right? So the access is very easy. The topography, it's mostly there's a lot of forest. It's all a lot of forest companies active in the area, so it's there's no issues with access at all, and we can drill all year round there. We can work underground all year round, and of course we're there now. In fact, the best way to look at it is on our website there's a very short 2-minute video that you can access, and it shows the topography, and it shows how advanced, how much development there is. I mean, this is not something that was done 100 years ago, right? This is a relatively new, so we have modern generators and rescue stations and mechanic shops, and I mean, it looks like a real live mine site ready to go. So that's the access part of it. The drill program, we've got 50 pads designed right now throughout the various throughout the property. So the plan is to put at least a couple holes per pad and to kick that 20,000 meter program, which we actually started 2 weeks ago. Oh, and you said cost. Yeah, the costs right now are all in costs are just under $200 a meter, and we're doing a diamond drilling.
I think there was a question from Jordan. I saw it pop up here.
Yeah, so I think so we'll go to the audience for a question, and then if we can then unmute David, because I think we'll have a question from David and a question from Steve. So the question from Jonathan Jordan is how the drilling results looking since starting back up this month.
Sorry, how they're looking so far?
Yes.
Oh, they're looking fantastic. I mean, if you look at our news releases, the ones that the drilling that we finished a few weeks ago that we've news released, the results were amazing. Anything from 15 grams to 107 grams, running anywhere from 1.5 meters to 4.5 meters. So those are the ones we've already announced. The new ones, as I mentioned, well, let me put it this way. Last 2 days, my geos were telling me that they were high-fiving each other for an hour. And I said, what's going on? They said, the core's looking great. It's, obviously they don't know the grades, but they said it's all mineralized. And as I mentioned earlier, for the first time, they're seeing visible gold in the core, which we've never seen at the Boulder yet. So things are looking very good, touch wood. So far, so good.
Fantastic. We'll have to wait and see for those results, but sounds like you might have a real winner there in terms of this round. David, do you have a?
Really, I guess, Randy, your balance sheet sounds like it's in great shape with some good potential for warrant exercise. So I don't know if we'll be able to help you in the near term anyway. But again, I'd be interested in your investor profile, institutional, retail, onshore, offshore.
No disrespect, you're the last guy I want to talk to, okay? Because that means I haven't been able to put this into production yet. But joking aside, look, our investor profile is very broad. We have, so I put early on, myself, my family, and a handful of my friends put in $2.1 million into the company. So we've got about 20% approximately. Then we've got, I've got about 20% is with the acquisition that I made, so that we did, and they're in escrow for about 30 months. And then I've got about a 15% in Europe. I love the German investors, the Swiss investors, the Austrians. They are true investors. They're long-term, sort of thinkers. So I've got very good retail base held there. And predominantly the rest of it is in retail. We do have a couple of funds, like Steve participated. I hope you don't mind sharing that, Steve.
Okay.
I guess I let the cat out of the bag already at the beginning. I just realized. So yeah, we have a little bit of participation. To be honest with you, we never got the opportunity to talk to many people. The last financing we did was 20% oversubscribed before we knew it. I mean, it was amazing how fast the market changed. So and then the rest of it is in retail. I'm very, very focused on the retail side, especially in the U.S. One of the things I learned here in the last few years is that in order to have sort of natural trading, you've got to have a big retail base. So in the last 3.5 months, I've really focused on the U.S. to develop, to make sure that the story is known. In one of my previous businesses, I used to be an advertising executive, so I know how the power of advertising and marketing. And in the last 3.5 months, I've gone from 0 shares in the DTC system to over 8 million and almost 2,000 shareholders in 3.5 months. My goal is to get to 5,000 in the next 4 to 6 months. So the rest of it is all retail. I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you. And I'll just in response to not financing, we've got a few ideas for you that may.
I was just teasing. Listen, as a good entrepreneur, I better have my options open, right? Because as always, you never know, what could happen. And so, joking aside, you always keep all your options open, and that's why this Minds and Money has been an incredible forum for me. I've had 31 meetings here between today, yesterday, and the day before, and met people like yourselves and a number of people. Many of them, want to finance, but who knows? We'll look down the road. This is a very robust project, and there's a lot of opportunities. And by the way, there's other things that give value in our company. We have part of the deal that I did when I negotiated this Dome Mountain project. They also had a copper porphyry called the Big Onion, which is a very interesting project. It's got a historical resource on it, about 700 million pounds, and it's got two targets already. It's got 400 drill holes already on the property. So, that's going to need, financing. So we're going to take a look to see how we're going to monetize that, if we're going to go after it, or if we're going to JV it or sell it. And then I've got another property near Williams Lake, 10 high-grade veins, another great property, drive to. And so that's going to need some work. So we'll see. Maybe we'll be talking.
Absolutely.
So Rana, just because you made that comment, Dave, earlier, and just so everybody understands, David is his company pulls together financings that are flow-through based, but it's with a twist, and it allows for people that want to shelter some income to participate. It allows for the issuing company to issue stock at a premium, a nice premium, sometimes very high premium. And it allows the end buyer, the individual that wants to own this company from anywhere in the world. If they want to own this company, they believe in, say, what Rand is doing, they can buy it at a discount. So it's a win-win-win. But when you made that comment, Rana, does that mean that you expect that you might be fully funded, like through production, and then you'll be able to continue operations or continue exploration based on the operating income?
Well, yeah. Well, that's why I said that. That's why I said that in tongue in cheek, right? That means I haven't accomplished my goal if I'm talking to him, right? But yes, that is my expectation. The mine will flow, cash flow very nicely. Given the high grades that we have and what's there in place. So that's what I meant. But yes, once we get this into production,
that's a good statement. I mean, for as shareholders, that's what we like to hear. No more dilution, right? If you
well, we got, like I said, we've got just under 6 months. I've got all the money I need in order to execute on getting the mine into production. See, a lot of people say, well, how can you get the mine into production with just that little bit of money? Well, what they forget is that 28 million was already spent in the last dozen years. And if you look at the video, you'll see it's all developed. There's 1,000 meters of development, underground development already right to the face of the vein. And so I'm very fortunate that way, right? All the equipment is there. We just have to kind of turn the key and start now. So I've got enough money to finish the exploration and get that into production, and then hopefully, we'll use the rest of it all into explore further.
Excellent.
And
Steve,
then of course
do you have
the
any
warrants.
questions?
There's the 5 million in warrants as well, right? So,
Additional, yeah, that's dilution that's baked in, in the money warrants, absolutely. So, Steve, do you have any burning questions or?
A couple. I was just wondering, on that slide you showed, there was 15 veins that were targets. I was wondering how many of those do you hope to drill this year? And then that one drill hole that was deeper was quite high grade. Is there a theory that maybe that grades are higher deeper?
Yes, that's exactly what it is, and we're cautiously optimistic. That's exactly what my technical team is telling me, and we'll know here shortly because we've got 2 drill rigs going right now. We're going to continue to target the depth, and we're going to continue to the second one. We're going to continue to target the east, and we're going to work. And the second part of your question, yes, of course, we can't be on all the veins, but the one I showed you, the illustration, the free gold, we do want to target that because that looks very, very interesting, especially with that porphyry signature. And then there's another one to the south, about 500 meters to the south, the Forks vein, which was where Newrange was at in the 80s, and we have a historical resource from them at 20,000 tons, grading 23.6 grams a ton. So we're going to start working our way south towards that because there's a theory that that kind of all connects. So we'll see. So we're not going to just try to expand the resource. And again, maybe I like to think outside the box. And so I've told my geologists, look, guys, no disrespect, but I don't want to be doing a whole bunch of infill drilling. Okay, I already know that's there, and let's leave that there. What I really want to do is do more exploratory. I want to see what's at depth. I want to see what's in these what these other veins are, and that's how I think we're going to bring the best value to our shareholders. Before COVID hit and all these market gyrations, we were trading at over $2 a share. And now we've retracted like everybody else, but I fully believe that when we deliver these milestones, I truly believe that we'll see a new high in our stock this year.
That's great music to my ears in terms of the exploration. I don't want to cut this short, but we have to move on. If questions were left unanswered, I'm sure Rana, you'll answer those questions in the forum later.
Happy to.
Now we're going to move on to James, but just before we move on to James, who's got 2 mines that are going into production and a 1 mill. It's a wonderful setup that he's got his hands on. We'll hear about that in a second. It was a great transaction that he did over Christmas. Kudos to you, but we're going to hear about that in a second. But first, I want to go over to David, because David, I want everybody to understand what you are up to, because we've talked a little bit about what you're doing. I want to hear it from you because you benefit everybody. You benefit
absolutely
the issuer. You benefit the individual or the corporation that wants to shelter a bit of income. You benefit the one that wants to own the stock long term. Let's hear about it if you can, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, I'll try and be quick and give James more time. Thank you Mike, for the invitation. First of all, I said I offered Mike a job before we started because he knows the pitch so well. Because we've done a number of deals together over the years. Oberon is a charity flow-through shop. Our clients have bought a little over $1 billion of flow-through in the past decade since our founding in 2009. And the format is for our clients to buy flow-through, and as Mike says, they want to shelter income and make charitable gifts. They don't want the market risk, and they exit immediately to investors that are domestic and offshore, retail, high net worth, and institutional investors. And the advantage, as Mike said, there's a piece of the pie for everybody. Issuers get a bigger bang for their money, a much higher flow through premium, less dilution. Right now in the market, there's $100 million of Quebec that for every dollar that the back end investors have put up, they're getting $1.78 in their shares. So you leverage those investments from your hard dollar buyers and reduce your dilution. Our clients reduce taxes and they're able to give money more cheaply, more efficiently. Charities obviously are happy to take money every day and all day long, and we've seen gifts increase and accelerate. So that's been a benefit for those stakeholders. And then I think the majority of the audience here, and I recognize some of the names of having participated in our deals, are interested in taking positions, and you get to access those positions at a discount to market. So that's the advantage there. And really, when you get that discount, and we pay $1.40 for the dollar that you've put into the company, you've actually leveraged your investment. You've put more money in the hands of management to do their job and achieve their aims. So that's very much in a nutshell. As I said, we've done a little over $1 billion we bought in about 260-70 financings with over 150 unique investors in our history. It's been an interesting transition. Our business in 2020 actually doubled from 2019, and you saw the influx of capital and interest. Gold at an all-time high in Canadian dollars terms drove a lot of that. We actually turned away business that would have probably grown our business to 3 times 2019 because we don't have enough clients to generate or to take down that kind of size. So we're actively growing our client base. The advantage there to clients, and if any of you are interested in learning more about that, we shelter income. We do it in a manner that's acceptable to CRA and has been for over a decade. And we facilitate charitable gifts to registered Canadian charities. So for Canadian taxpayers, that's the service we provide. For investors globally, we allow you to access the positions you want to take in Canadian exploration plays at a discount to market and leverage your money. So
great, thanks, David. That's I think an explanation that people can understand and potentially take advantage of, because there are different ways to take advantage of it. Either shelter income, buy at a discount, participate in these companies. It's great, and thank you for that. But James, over to you.
Sorry, Mike. Can I just answer one question? James will be very quick. I apologize. There's just a question there about go public financing. Yes, we can work with IPOs, and the strategy also works for public companies. So public, private, already established issuers. Sorry, James.
Perfect. James, over to you. Vangold, cusp of production, 2 mines, one milling facility. Gosh, you're going to produce a lot of gold, a lot of silver down in Mexico. Over to you. Let's hear about it.
That's right. Now, how much would you pay? But now we'll also throw in this set of Jinsu knives. Okay, so Mike,
market cap going to 60 million. Go.
Exactly. Okay, so Mike, I know from our talks earlier today, you want to talk about Reddit and short squeezes and silver squeezes and stuff like that.
I want to talk about Vangold.
So I'm gonna take 6 minutes and talk about Vangold. We're gonna talk about what part of the world we're in. We're gonna talk about the El Pinguico asset that we've got currently, and we're gonna talk about for 2 minutes only the El Cubo acquisition that we announced in December. So first of all, Guanajuato, Mexico, and I feel somewhat intimidated, but also very grateful to have Bob Archer on the panel with us. Bob really helped to reinvigorate the Guanajuato area about 15 years ago when Great Panther was there, and he spearheaded Great Panther's pursuit of silver and gold assets in the Guanajuato area. So for people that don't know, Guanajuato is one of Mexico's famous old mining camps. The Spanish were smart enough to figure out that there's high-grade gold and silver here within 60 years of Columbus sailing. So there's been about 480 years of mining in this famous camp Most of that is on a regional fault structure that the Spanish and now the Mexicans, of course, call the Veta Madre, or the mother vein. They've taken over 2 billion ounces of silver out of that structure over the centuries. And at different times, but through the 1700s, there were times when Guanajuato was producing about 40% of the entire world's silver. So the asset that we've been working on for a couple of years in Guanajuato is something called El Pinguico. El Pinguico is a past producing, very high grade, and in its day, about 110 years ago, it was the highest grade mine in the Guanajuato area. In 1906, there were 2 companies. One was a British company and one was an American company that were both mining ostensibly 2 halves of the same epithermal system just south of the city of Guanajuato. In 1906, they decided it would be a good idea to merge those 2 companies, and the subsequent entity became listed on the New York and Boston stock exchanges. So that's kind of an interesting bunch of history for it. It was a big deal in its day. It was mined on using 3 shafts and on 10 different levels. They were producing 400 tons a day of very high grade material. What exists there today is a lot of the old underground infrastructure, which over the past 12 months we've been getting down into. There also exists 2 stockpiles of material. One was a waste pile 110 years ago, but it has gold and silver in it. And we did a 1,000-ton bulk sample using that material in June, and we sent 1,000 tons of that to Endeavor Silver's mill nearby called Bolanitos. So that was very, very helpful and started the story off. There's also another underground stockpile, which is 3 times the grade of the surface material. It was designed as a low-grade stockpile 100 years ago, but their idea of low grade and ours is vastly different. It grades over 300 grams of silver equivalent. So we don't have to find it. We don't have to mine it. We don't have to blast it. It exists underground. We need to raise the capital to be able to bring that stuff to surface and then send it off to a mill. Mike, as you kindly alluded to, we did a deal. We've signed an LOI with Endeavor Silver in December, whereby we will be purchasing their El Cubo mine and mill and land package within the Guanajuato district. Now, this is a game-changing event for Vangold. What we will end up doing, and I always think from 25,000 feet, it's always a good idea if you've got 2 mines that can feed 1 central processing facility. That's what we will have. So El Cubo is only 8 kilometers by road. It's only about 5 kilometers in a straight line from Pinguico to our new asset at El Cubo. We're paying $15 million for El Cubo. And just to put that in perspective, the last time that this asset changed hands was in 2012, when Endeavor Silver paid $200 million for that asset. They paid $100 million in cash and $100 million in their shares. So slice it up any way you like. We think we're getting an outstanding deal. That mill, which is rated to 1,500 tons a day, that mill has been on care and maintenance for about 14 months. We think we need a couple $1 million to spruce it up. We need filters and clamps and hoses, and the ball mills need new linings. But we can do all that and be running material principally from our stockpiles at Pinguico to start with, through that mill by July or August of this year. We've hired Bear Dolbear, the very old and well-established American mining engineering firm, to write a PEA for us. We've got that draft. That should be ready in a fully finished basis within the next 10 days or so. And then we'll consummate the transaction, and away you go. So also with the purchase of that mill, we also get 500,000 tons of very good grade material in all categories that is left over at the mine. We also get 7,000 hectares of mining claims within possibly North America's oldest mining jurisdiction. Now, how much would you pay, Mike? Now you get some Jinsu knives thrown in there. So with that, and with just 4 minutes left to go. I'll pass it back over to you. Any questions from anybody?
Any questions, Steve or David? If you have any questions of James, please ask. If not, we'll go to the audience. I'm sure that there are.
What's the mix of silver versus gold?
So in terms of value, we're talking about 65-35 in favor of silver. And that's a a very general kind of broad base. To fill that in a little bit, so at El Cubo, for instance, and they've been mining at El Cubo on and off, but mostly on for about 200 years. There's a major vein systems, Villalpando and Doris, that run north-northwest, and then there's these cross features that cut across those veins as well. In the cross features, you often, for whatever reason, I don't know that we know why this is, but in the cross features, you get a higher gold to silver ratio. So name of the company is Van Gold. We're thinking about a name change because it doesn't really express the silvery nature of these assets.
And silver?
Well, we're going to come up with something even more imaginative than that.
Are there any questions, Andrew? Are there any
Yeah,
questions from the audience?
good question from the audience. Is the purchase price for El Cubo 50 million due at the start or option?
Right. So it's in 3 components. We'll pay $7.5 million in cash up front, of which we've advanced $500,000 to our friends at Endeavor. We will pay $5 million worth of our shares, which makes for 21.3 million shares valued at 30 Canadian cents, where we are doing a equity financing. That's been upsized twice since it was first announced on December 23rd. It's now at 14.5 million Canadian dollars, which is all spoken for, and it's closed. I shouldn't say it's closed. We have firm orders for all of it.
Okay. And there's just another question. Is the silver and gold being separated in a cheap process by gravity?
It's in a flotation plant. So there are currently 4 mills in the Guanajuato area, and they're all flotation plants.
Okay. And just one last question is, what is the Guanajuato region like as a mining jurisdiction?
Oh, well, and Bob Archer will back me up on this. It's fantastic. So Guanajuato is a city of 150,000 people. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. When you're walking in the old town part of Guanajuato, it's like walking through an old town in Italy or Spain. There's good restaurants, there's cafes and parks. It's beautiful. Oftentimes people call it the most beautiful city in Mexico. So what I like to say is it's a little bit like Timmins, Kirkland Lake, or Val d'Or, except that the weather is way better and the buildings are cooler.
Okay.
And what's it like then? I guess it's pretty straightforward in terms of, it sounds like outside of that beautiful city, there's a lot of brownfield sites and a lot of mining. The locals must appreciate mining and be respectful of mining as you're respectful of them, right?
Absolutely. I was born in Timmins, so I say that respectfully. My father was born in Kirkland Lake, so I say that respectfully. These are all mining communities, and Guanajuato is that type of mining community, but in Mexico. And it's that type of mining community, but not with a 100-year mining history or 120-year mining history, but a 480-year mining history. They like mining. They understand mining. There's miners all over the place. The University of Guanajuato is in Mexican circles, a famous university for putting out quality mining engineers. My partners down there, father and son team, Gerardo Dorado and Hernan Dorado, are both mining engineers and are both graduates from there. We also have 3 other people, senior people on staff now, that are all local people from the University of Guanajuato. So what I intend to do is to make this a very local company. Obviously, we'll continue to be a Canadian company with a Canadian listing, but this will have a more Mexican flavor than a lot of the other companies that are working in the area.
Wonderful. I think we're running short on time here. I think we have a minute left. I know Andrew's going to want to sign off, but I just want to say thank you to all of the panelists. Thank you, James, CEO of Van Gold, that's VGLD. they're all trading up here in Toronto. Bob Archer, thank you so much. CEO of Newrange, NRG. I like that, energy. NRG is the trading symbol. And thank you, Rana, Blue Lagoon, BLLG, your trading symbol. All wonderful CEOs, wonderful projects. We're can't wait to see as the results and the development happens. Steve, thank you so much for being on this panel and representing your fund. AlphaNorth Asset Management, and David, of course, thank you so much. Oberon Capital, you're in charge there, and thank you for being on the panel and letting people understand a little bit more about what you do and the charitable flow through transactions. And thank you to your team at Minds and Money. I really appreciated you putting this together. I think it was a great panel, and of course, thanks to everybody in the audience for participating. I thought there were some great questions that came from the audience. I hope that you were able to take something away from this, some ideas, maybe some investment opportunities, and hopefully we can all see each other again soon.
Thank you very, very much. Everyone have a great weekend. Thank you very much and goodbye.